Welcome back to Stationeers on Mars. And the first thing you should do when you watch this video, if you haven't already found out about this, you'll see that new inventory slot called glasses on the left hand side. We'll come back to that in a minute, but as soon as that appears in your world, as soon as you see those glasses, it means you've been patched to the latest version. So if you're not on beta, don't worry about it just yet, but if you are on beta, do worry about it, because the first thing that happens is in your suit, no sorry, not your backpack, your suit, when you load the game, the filter will have moved into your processor. So on the right hand side, you'll see the O2 warning symbol, and if you don't figure out what it is quickly, well, yeah, things won't go well for you. So please do watch out for that if you patch up on the beta side of things. If not, don't worry. I'm sure you'll get that when it goes live. Probably in about a week. It's normally about a week behind beta. I'm just going to get a couple of things printing. We've got the IC circuit here. So yes, glasses slot. What's the glasses slot all about? Well, it appears we can now create glasses, which is just a cosmetic item, but we can also apparently make night vision goggles. Now, I'm not sure if they are in... there they are. Yeah, there we go. Gold, Constantan, Solver, and Silicon, and I don't think we've created Constantan, or at least I haven't got some around. But apparently lets you obviously see at night, as you might imagine. Haven't tried them. I will be trying them at some point, but not just yet. Unless I've got... No, I've got Invar, I don't have Constantan. So yeah, unless you have some of that around... is there any here? I don't think there is. No, because it's an alloy, it'll be around. But just to let you know, that is in-game now. I just carry around this backpack light. But it does use up battery, apparently, so do watch out for your battery usage. Okay, so we've got a couple of things. We've got a circuit and we've got a housing. What can we be using these for? Well, the two options are furnaces and cooling system. Now, the cooling system currently works. The furnaces keep getting jammed occasionally. So I thought, well, let's fix the thing that gets jammed. And then, of course, we'll save a bit more power with those once we get this running. So I've removed the glass again, turned off this, so it's not going to be pulling the gases from here. And as you'll see from behind here, if I just pop behind, what's basically happening, just because of the way I had it set up, is that these were occasionally jamming and sometimes turning off. And that, I think that middle left one is off at the moment, is it? I'm going to need to just drop that for a second. Let me just remove more of the windows. There we go. And let's just put that back in my backpack. And if I go into the top, is that off right now? No, it's actually on. If I reset the mold back to on, I have. Good. Okay. So I was never completely pleased with this, although what I was pleased with was at the time we have batch slot readers, and that meant you could shortcut things to save a lot of circuits. Do you remember when we first had this? We had circuits all the way down here, and indeed I still haven't solved this sorting issue because I need to reset up this program again. Atmos sorter, no, it's the remember I had to replace one. That means I have to go in and put all the ingots back in. Anyway, even though I don't have that, it's fine because they still go upstairs anyway. It's only really one of these sorters. I think what I may have to do is move this so this is back here, and then connect this, or maybe I even just connect this with a duct. We could try that, I suppose, because maybe it's just the fact that it's not connected with the duct, which causes problems. In any case, we will have to refix the sorting side of things. However, up here we've got chips. So if you remember, we have a batch slot reader, and we're looking for the arc furnace export slot and see if that's occupied. And then if it is, we're sort of going to the arc furnaces and we're writing activate based on that. And we're reading the power. That's is the power on? Yeah. Yeah, that's reading this chute bin, and is the power on, and then we're using that to trigger them as well. So if the power is on, then also trigger the arc furnaces. So that's 6 chips, and I think we can actually replace it again with our wonderful IC circuit, and also gain some benefit. Now, the downside of using this batch circuit is when any of them have something in the import or export slot, so i.e. when something goes into the back, I must have robbed a window chute from here. If anything goes into the back, in fact, I'll actually need that, so that's fine. If anything goes into the back or comes out of the front, it's basically triggering all of them. And that's fine, because that then starts up the next round. So the thing works as a whole, but it does get jammed occasionally where things can get turned off or backed up or stuff like that. With the fact we can use integrated circuits now, that means that we don't have to worry about scanning for all of them at once and activating them all at once. As long as we're willing to deal with a little bit of repetition, we can do all of that in code. Speaking of code and that processor slot that I showed you in the suit, yes, the processor slot now allows you to basically control your suit using an integrated circuit. Please, 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 please be very, very careful doing this. The reason why is that you could do things like, hey, detect whether the temperature and pressure is right, and if so, open the suit helmet. But of course, if you step into an area like this, well, that could kill you, because there's only carbon dioxide in here. So be very, very, very careful about doing just that. Let's just get this uninstalled. There we go. And this is working well, I assume. Well, it's only been a few minutes really in game time, so it won't have amassed a huge amount. But it's nearly enough for another snack bar. Well, there's in fact another snack bar worth in there. So yeah, do think carefully about doing it. I have seen a demonstration program on Reddit, I think, of someone who showed you can do this. So yeah, if you have if every pressurized area is breathable with the right temperatures, you could easily manage that so that you'll be using less power when you step inside by turning off your air conditioning or other similar things to that. Me, not so much. I'm terrified of doing anything like that, so instead we'll stick with not using the processor and instead going back to just doing this solve base problems, I think, which is pretty good all around. So yeah, there we go. So the other thing about code I was going to mention was that I got an example program from, if I haven't already mentioned this, Kelvin Macaskill Reed about 5-6 days ago, demonstrating that, you know, we can control these furnaces. I did want to mention that just because he's put his comment in one of the videos. Always used to point to other people's comments. I'm not going to do it exactly the same way he has. And in fact, the way he's written it looks like he may have written it when we still had the old integrated circuits, or at least less registers than we do now and stuff like that. So things like that need to change a little bit, I think, and I'm just going to write it a little bit of a different way, but I'm sure some of you may well even improve on this. So let's first of all choose devices. So we're just going to need to get to maybe Arc Furnace 1. Where are you? Arc Furnace 1, there we go. Is it on D? Yeah, it's on D0. So we're going to get to number 2, number 3, and number 4. Really easy. Okay, so this program will be able to control 6 furnaces, as you might imagine, because you've got 6 pins. And let's get this booted up. And let's just actually import, because that'll just bring in a blank program. Okay, and let's turn this on. It's not going to be doing much at the moment, so that's fine. And in fact, I'm just going to place back this floor grating, because this isn't welded up or anything down there. We just got it ready for that. Let me get... Really? Turn and choose that. Okay, and I'll fill this floor in later. What are we going to do first? Well, as you might imagine with our previous programs, we're going to write something that is just going to set some aliases first of all. So relatively straightforward. So alias, I don't know, furnace 1, D0. Alias furnace 2, D1. And as you might imagine, the rest of that is simple. Alias furnace 4, D3. Straightforward. So we've got pins. We can just confirm this and export, and we should get the pins there. There we go, furnace 1. So we can address those whenever we need to make changes. All right, so underneath here now, what we need to do is read in the state of those furnaces. We're checking for the import slots and we're checking for the export slots. So we're going to load from a slot into R0 whether furnace 1 Is it called imports or import slot maybe? Let me just type it as import for now and I'll figure it out later. Occupied. Okay, it doesn't seem to like the word import, so let's just have a look in here and see what that's the wrong thing. I want the slots, so what are the slots actually called? Import count? No. I guess I better go and check that one. 1 second, let's pop downstairs. I'll do it off camera. And that does appear to be import and export, so even though they come up red, I will just assume it's just not recognized by the syntax highlighter. Now at this point, Kelvin writes using SLT, and he writes something like this: SLT R2, R1, R0. So I think what he's trying to do here is see, well, if one is less than the other, if R1 is less than R0, then write a 1 into R2. Well, not exactly. SLT, because it could be the other way around as well. If the export is occupied and the import isn't, then sorry, the other way around. If the import's occupied and the export isn't, then that won't really work. However, on the left-hand side here, I've just brought up the help, and there does appear to be an OR function. So if we do OR, and then we can just reuse a register. But for now, let me just assume R2, just keep things nice and simple. And then there is an A and a B. So if A or B is not 0, then it goes to there. So we can just then use R0, R1, and hopefully that will then be the case. So let's just actually test that to see if that's actually the case. So if we store on the base of the device, let me just make sure I've got the help for that again. We can store the setting, and let's store R2. Okay, so confirm that and export. That's going to work, but what I want to make sure happens is I need to shut down all the circuitry from downstairs. And this sound has gone off for some reason, not quite sure why. But I need to shut off all this circuitry, so I don't want any of this to be active. I don't want it checking anything because it'll just start cooking stuff. It'll start smelting it down if I don't switch all this off. So we have no more of that old circuitry running. And let's just step in here, head back upstairs. Oh, and now we get sound. Fine. Okay, so if I just grab some random like nickel or something like that, and we're looking at furnace 1. Why don't I just not export, why don't I just change that to furnace 4, because I think furnace 4 is the closest one to us, just while we're doing some testing. And yet again, I wish for some ability to press left to go onto a previous line. Honestly, the spare line stuff. So this is furnace 4, okay. So if I put something in the import slot there, are we getting 1 out yet? So arc furnace 4 is set to furnace 4. And we are not getting 1 out. We should be, though, if that's done correctly. Let me just check the code. Okay, so here I am using a bit of Kelvin's code again, because the import and export doesn't seem to want to be recognized as a slot. Maybe my code's wrong, but if you know of a better way to use it with words rather than what Kelvin's done, I'll show you what he's done in a second. Do let me know. But it is now working with that, so there's nothing in the import slot there. So if I just pop something in, it changes to 1, and if I grab that back out, it changes back to 0. Okay, so let me just show you the changes to the code. Not very much, not very much at all, but yeah, basically that the Kelvin and whoever else has discovered this, 0 and 1. So 0 being the import slot, 1 being the export slot. No idea why. They seem to work. So we've got the OR operator that's working. And in fact, let me just bring that up. So again, just the usual loop at the bottom and yield, etc. So we've got all of that going. All right, so now in R2, we know whether things should be activated for that furnace. Now, in Kelvin's original code, he's going to jump into a separate section. It doesn't really much matter how you do this, except that now what we're actually going to do is activate the furnace. So we know we should activate it at this stage right here with R2. And we can collapse this again to just storing this back into R0. And at this point, R0 is, that's one less register, for instance. And let's just actually get rid of this. And in fact, can we actually collapse this even further to just use one register overall? I don't think, well, we'd have to use other operators to see whether it was already 0. And if only if it was, would we then overwrite it with a 1? It's just simpler to actually do this. So R0 at this point is the state of furnace 4 in our case, but it will be furnace 1 once I've finished with the code. Fine. Now all we need to do is basically tell it to activate. Okay, here we go. So we've got a store line. We're going to store onto the furnace 4 the activate setting, and we're going to set it to R0. So remember, at this point, it will either be 0 if there's nothing in either import or export, or it will be 1. All right, and then we're going to yield. So what this should do is now, whenever something comes in or goes out of furnace 4, it should try to activate it. Try. Well, there's some silver here. Why don't we just put some silver in and see if this actually will work? There we go. That works pretty well. Now, it's going to reactivate when something leaves this again, but that should be okay. And in fact, what we could do is maybe even simplify this to not even worry about the export slot. See, there it goes. Yeah, try to activate it again. So what happens, let me just grab some nickel and split 1 a couple of times. So we got a good piece of test ore to do this with. Let's just take out the export slot, because what's going to happen is if something goes into the export slot, that's fine. It may still register in the input slot a certain time. Once it leaves, there's nothing in the input slot anymore, i.e. when the door opens back up, the next loop around in about half a second will try and activate again, but only if something is then in the input slot. So if we just take this line and we just put a hash at the start of it to put a comment. I used to use the double slash, but apparently double slash isn't recognized as a comment, so just hash. And please don't call this a hashtag. It's not that. Don't get me started. No, let's get started. Okay, so LSR0, furnace 4, 0 occupied. All right, let's try this and let's see if this actually works. So confirm and export. Okay, we'll get 1 piece of nickel, put that in. Okay, away it goes, and that appears to work. Yep. So that is not going to reactivate it again, and it's ready for the next piece. So I will leave it like this, and I'm going to assume that you guys will shout at me and say, why we still need that line in there for this code. If we do, you can just remove the comments. Again, I will put this in a paste bin. You can edit it yourself, okay? So all we need to do then here, because this is all now independent of each other and it's assessing it really, really fast, i.e. the half-second delay is only when you hit line 11, all we really need to do here is copy these lines. And let's just actually get this one. So we're going to copy, no, that'd be really nice if I could copy all of those at once. Let me just copy them out into a code, into a notepad, and then back in again. And here we go. So we've got this now included, and it is just repeats. And notice that because we're just issuing the activate signal as we get to assess each furnace, we can just then immediately reuse the same registers. So we're just really using 2 registers all the way down and activating them, just as we actually get to them. So that is pretty fine, I think. Yeah, that looks good to me. So confirm that. I'm going to just then edit that and put it into the library. So let's just say that automatic furnace. Yeah, automatic furnaces. Okay, and we'll save that, confirm it, and it's good to go essentially now. I just need to put some ductwork back, specifically that right there, this piece, and then I need to go and resolve those sorters downstairs. But we do have 6 chips less now. I'm back to just this one, which is pretty good by me. And that is pretty much going to be the main part of this episode. I just need to probably test this. I'll leave that for testing for you guys to do. and you can tell me how wrong it is. That'll give me a surprise. I'll be doing the actual testing probably off camera anyway. I will let you know at the start of next episode if there is any issues with it, but I think what I'm probably looking to do next is some way of avoiding this whole sorter situation, having to set this up by computer again and again. I guess I could load it into a data disk if it'll let me do that. I don't know if you can actually store settings in a data disk from a computer. I'll be interested to know, because then if we need to rebuild this, then that'll be the problem. Also, if anyone knows how to resolve this issue where things occasionally get stuck between two sorters like this, that would really actually help me, because that's causing so much of an issue. The only time I actually have to rebuild both of these is when, and it's this one that has all the computer code on it, is when something sticks in between the two. So then I have to go in here and then, you know, call this, there it is. So we have to rename this the ore sorter or something along those lines, and then go back into the computer again and then reset it back up. So in here we've got the ore sorter somewhere. Is it at the top? Yeah, they just, and my backpack's died. But we've got the ore sorter, and I have to add all the ores to the whitelist again. So annoying to do that. This is about the 4th time I've done it as well, because of that sticking problem. However, the furnaces should no longer stick, so that is that's a good option to have. Where's my backpack gone again? There it is. And let's, oh, I put the battery somewhere, didn't I? Was it my tablet? I think it was in my tablet. Yeah, let's just get that and swap it for this. And then there we go. That's fully charged already, because we hardly use any from that. And then we can just swap this back with this one, and we get our light back. Okay, good. 3, 5, 4, and pop it back in. Okay, so that is our furnaces dealt with. I'll probably do the cooling system replacement next episode, and get not just 6 chips replaced, but many chips. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the heating chip. I just turned that off temporarily because we don't need any heating to this. In fact, it's still warming up, so something is still going on really wrong there. What's the temperature of this pipe at now? -11. That should still be okay, but I'll correct it anyway. We'll figure it out and sort that out next episode. It shouldn't be terribly hard to solve the problem, but I'm glad we just solved furnaces again, but with a much neater system onto a single chip. I'll put that in the paste bin in the description below, and I'll see you next time, I think. If you like the episode, feel free to like, subscribe, share. More importantly, if you've seen errors with this program, do let me know. Put them in the comments down below for everyone else to point and laugh at me at, as often happens. And yes, I did, I haven't cleaned up after the furnace yet. I will be cleaning up that cable. Anyway, so we'll see you next episode. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And as always, yeah, have fun.